filed the application. I paid the $500 application fee. I got all of the paperwork together. They wanted to hear from the water. They wanted the deed to the business. They wanted the parking lot. They wanted all of this information. I talked to the people, sent the emails, gathered all of the information. The first step in the process was a technical review where the water, the fire, all of the county, the zoning and planning, everybody was on a Zoom meeting. They asked me about my business. They asked me these questions. Nobody said that there was a problem. We continued on with the next step of the next step. The next step was a community information meeting. They wanted me to present my business to the community.
Americans are capable of achieving extraordinary things when they have the freedom and opportunity to do so. This is American Potential.
Welcome to the American Potential Podcast. I'm your host, David Frum. Today we're going to be talking about small businesses and some government obstacles that, one business owner in particular is really dealing with. But I mean, it's kind of everyone's American dream to start a small business. So, Engineer Matt, do you ever want to start a business like when you were a kid, or I guess you actually have?
Oh, you know what? When I was a kid, I don't think I appreciated small business. I didn't really understand it, but as an adult, I think small business is absolutely part of the American dream. The notion that you can come along and provide a service, whatever skill you have, and sell that to people, obviously, who need that skill. But being able to do that, to be your own boss, I think part of that's the American dream right there. It's not working a 9-to-5. It's running your own business, doing what you love.
Well, you're a small business owner. So, you're just talking from firsthand experience, it's...
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And there's something about that. Now, being your own boss, that a lot of people say they want to do that. That comes with some responsibility, too. You got to be ready for that. But I think the rewarding part of it, again, is just you're able to do something you're passionate about. And obviously, you make a living off of that. But, you're doing that day in and day out. And I think there's something special about that, and something special about the American small business owner, the drive and dedication it takes to do that.
Yeah, I used to own a consulting firm before I joined Americans for Prosperity, and man, if I could do it again, I'd be way more successful because hindsight's 20/20. But I loved it, and I love the freedom associated with it. But there's certainly headaches that come with it. You're making your own payroll, paying both sides of Social Security. There's, if stuff doesn't come through, you don't make money. So I admire the folks who decide to do it because I know firsthand it's not easy, but it's also super rewarding. So, well, I'm looking forward to talking to our guests about what she's passionate about and seeing if we can get government out of the way. Today we're talking about small businesses because for a lot of people, the American dream is to open a business. The idea of being able to offer clients a product or service that they need is really the exciting part. What isn't is all the paperwork and research that has to be done to make sure you have the correct permits and licenses that are needed. Nobody likes it. But you do it because you really care about it. Our guest today did exactly what you're supposed to do. She started a business, worked hard, and grew it. So naturally, it was time to expand. Then she found a new location, talked with the community and other businesses, other owners, and had their support. Everything was lined up. Then just before the finish line, it all came to a halt. So what happened? How did the plan to expand ultimately turn into a lawsuit? Well, I want to welcome Khalilah, who is the owner of Creative Crown Collective, and Jessica Bigbie, who is Khalilah's lawyer and works for the Institute for Justice. Khalilah, Jessica, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Sure.
Thanks so much for having us, David.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to talk about this. I think it's unfortunately something that we've featured before, not quite in this way, but so Khalilah, let's first talk about your business. How did you decide to go into natural hair care, and what do you offer your clients as a business?
So what led me into natural hair care is probably just my own experience going natural. I went natural at a time where there really wasn't a lot of information or a lot of people doing it. So I, of course, turned to YouTube and learned a little bit there. But from there, I decided to really hone in on my craft and go to cosmetology school. And I went to cosmetology school and just kind of perfected what I wanted to do. But I always knew that it was going to be natural hair and hair braiding. So I guess probably after working at a couple of natural hair salons, I felt like I had learned enough and created enough skills to go ahead and open my own salon. And so we started in a small space, almost like a tiny house, if you will. But the business grew so quickly. Like, everybody really liked what we were providing, the braids, the twists, locks, and really just like a safe space. So from there, that's where we decided to expand, and we thought we found the perfect location in Jonesboro.
Yeah. So tell me what the difference is between natural hair care and just other types of hair care, because it seemed like it was pretty popular amongst your clientele if you were growing so much.
I would say the difference is that it's more of a specialized care specifically for Black people. It really deals with learning to care for the natural curls and the curl patterns. So it really differs there. And especially because natural hair needs a lot of different things. Like, it needs a lot of water, it needs a lot of moisture, it needs a lot of patience. The strands are so easy to break, but when you see them coiled together, you think that it's like strong and requires like almost like a firm hand, but it's really the complete opposite. I think you need just like a lot of education to know that.
Yeah, well, clearly, if you guys were outgrowing your space, people were responding well to it.
Yes.
You're growing. So your first space, you know, my understanding was like if you're all working at the same time, it's pretty tight. So you decided to look for a bigger location, and that's kind of what led to these trials of sorts, you know, and these problems with the government. Maybe talk to me about, you know, how you went about trying to get into a bigger space.
So we quickly knew that the space that we were in was not going to be enough space. Like I said, the business just grew at such an exponential rate. So I think probably about six months before our lease was about to end, we started to look for a new space. We knew that we wanted it to be in Clayton County, just because two of the people who were also working with me also lived in Clayton County. I graduated from hair school in Clayton County. It just seemed like a place that we wanted to give back to. So we decided that we would.
Maybe tell for everybody listening, like what state are you in Clayton County?
Oh, I'm in Georgia. Our business was operating out of Henry County, in McDonough, Georgia, and we wanted to move to Jonesboro, which is in Clayton County. It's maybe about a 20 to 30 minute drive. So neighboring cities, but two different counties.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So we also knew that a lot of our clients were commuting from that particular area. So we wanted to just be a little more centralized for everyone. So we started looking, and we initially found the space in December, but we hadn't like fully committed. We looked at a couple of other places. They were all still generally in that same area. It seemed to be a lot of vacant commercial properties along this stretch of South Main Street. So we looked at probably about 5 different properties in that area. And by March, we settled on South Main Street.
Mm-hmm. And what were some of the things that you did to engage the community and other businesses as you looked at signing a lease?
So when we initially first looked at it, we realized that there was a barbershop already there. So we asked the leasing agent if like that would be a problem, if us opening a hair salon would be a problem. He told us no. He was like, there were hair salons here before. So it wouldn't be a problem through us specifically. But again, we didn't want to create any bad business or anything. So we did go and speak to the barbershop next door. And they were, in fact, okay with us opening as well. They didn't see it being a problem. We also talked about how it could be a mutually beneficial relationship for the both of our businesses. The barbershop dealt with Black men and things like that. And so I'm like, I have a lot of men clients that come and get their retwists. I can send them next door to get their lineup. Just different things like that, different ways that we could, be in business together. So they were in support of us opening.
Yeah.
And it didn't really seem like it was going to be a problem. As also a part of the process, the conditional use permit process, you have to send out 20 certified letters to 20 neighboring businesses. We sent out those letters. We didn't get any response. No one, no business spoke against us when we went to any of the informational meetings. The community seemed to be in full support. And even when I presented my case to the commissioners, I had over 50 letters of support for our business.
Wow. So it seemed like you seemed all kind of clear to keep going, and then you signed a lease, right?
Yes.
And without any opposition. And then when did this really erupt and come to a head? Was it with the zoning committee?
I would say maybe kind of early on. So we signed the lease and we go to get our business license. We go to register the business and go get the business license. And they're like, oh, by the way, you need to get this conditional use permit. So I was just kind of like, well, what's that? So they give me a website. I go back, I read what a conditional use permit is, and from my understanding, it was you follow this process, you submit this application, as long as you don't pose any harm to the community, or to the public's health, then they will approve you to open. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, of course they would allow me to open. I don't feel like my business would cause any of those things. So I proceeded with the conditional use permit process. The application for it ended May 1st, and that was what kicked off the process.
Mm-hmm. So did they, so eventually when you went for a regular permit, was it denied? Like how did it come to filing a lawsuit?
Okay. So what happened was, I went through the process. So I filed the application. I paid the $500 application fee. I got all of the paperwork together. They wanted to hear from the water. They wanted, the deed to the business. They wanted the parking lot. They wanted all of this information. I talked to the people, sent the emails, gathered all of the information. The first step in the process was a technical review where the water, the fire, all of the county, the zoning and planning, everybody was on a Zoom meeting. They asked me about my business. They asked me these questions. Nobody said that there was a problem. We continued on with the next step of the next step. The next step was a community information meeting. They wanted me to present my business to the community, present what it was that I wanted to do, and talk about my business. I went to the meeting. They were having a lot of technical difficulties. And really by the time that I presented, there was no one there. But I presented to the people who came to support me. I let the community know what my business was about, how we had already previously given back, how we like to give back, how we like to engage with the community. I did that meeting. Then the following meeting after that was the zoning and advisory group meeting. This was where I found out where it was probably going to be something different or something difficult. So I woke up that morning, I checked my email, and inside the email, I have an email from the zoning and advisory board. They are going to forward this information that they plan on submitting a denial for before the board. So I'm like, oh, like nobody ever raised any red flags ever. So I don't even understand. So I'm reading the paperwork, and the paperwork is saying that there are similar businesses within a radius, and it's also saying that it's not in alignment with Clayton County's strategic plan. So I literally have hours to pull together a presentation and basically plead my case as to why my business is in fact in alignment with Clayton County strategic plan, as well as try to figure out like what oversaturation is. When they say there's oversaturation, like how do you know there's oversaturation? Where would I have like found out this information? So I do my best to put together that presentation, and I go and present to the zoning and advisory group meeting. And basically at that meeting, I think it was 5 people in total. 2 people supported our business, and the other 3 people opposed it. So then they all voted to, their recommendation would be to deny the permit. So that was the recommendation that they were going to forward to the commissioners for the commissioner meeting, which was the final review. So then I did the commissioners meeting. At the commissioners meeting, I really brought home how my business does in fact align with the community goals, and how they seen Clayton County in the future. It aligned with the commissioner of that district, his goals, his personal goals, and how he's seen the county. I showed how I had so much support from the community. I showed how we had already given back to the community and our future plans to give back to the community. And at the end, by the end of it all, he said how he liked me. He said he liked my business. He liked everything about it, but I chose the wrong location. And there was one commissioner who supported my business, and the rest of the commissioners voted to deny my permit. Once they did that, I felt like I didn't have any resolve. I felt like I had literally put my everything and all of my savings and everything into the renovation of this space and making it a beautiful space and preparing to open it. And they told me no. So after that, I wanted to speak with the commissioner. I asked for a meeting just so that he can kind of really explain to me why they denied the permit, like give reasoning, because, after you hear you like everything about it, but it's a no, you really want like closure, explanation. Like nobody wanted to meet with me. My employees who are residents of Clayton County, they wouldn't meet with them. They told them if it had anything to do with that they don't want to speak about it, that it's a no. So it was just crushing. So I just really felt like there was nowhere to turn, but it didn't feel fair. It didn't feel like they could tell me no because they didn't have any reasoning. So
I mean, it seems, we've someone like you trying to achieve their American dream, building and having some success, and then all of a sudden the government just stands in your way. That seems pretty un-American. Jessica, why don't we bring you in and maybe talk about like how you guys got involved in this case, and maybe talk about the lawsuit that's been filed.
Yeah, absolutely. So we had a similar case in Georgia, just almost exactly a year prior to Khalilah's, where a woman was denied a permit in, I forget the county, but close by, and denied a permit because the county feared that she would pose competition to other salons in the area.
God
So
forbid.
a kind of a kind of similar situation as here, where Khalil is being denied a permit because there's oversaturation of salons in the area, which is just not a legitimate reason to deny a permit. So we had that prior case. It was publicized. I believe Khalilah actually had heard about that case from maybe one of her friends, and so she contacted us to ask for help. And luckily, we were able to take her case on. It was a really quick turnaround. You only have 30 days to challenge the
Oh,
zoning
wow.
decision. So we had to get on it extremely quickly, file the lawsuit within that 30 days, and we got it done. So the lawsuit's pending right now. We had asked the court to allow Khalilah to operate her salon during the lawsuit, and that's through what's called an injunction. Unfortunately, the Superior Court did deny that request in December of this year, so we are going to appeal that decision to the Georgia Supreme Court and ask them to reconsider.
Jessica, talk real quick about the Institute for Justice. I mean, I know that you guys are a great organization, but like, how do you come to be engaged in this sort of lawsuit?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are a nonprofit public interest law firm. We are really focused on holding the government accountable when they violate individuals' constitutional rights. And we get involved in cases of economic liberty, such as Khalilah's, but also property rights, First Amendment. We kind of deal with a whole host of issues, unfortunately, when the government is overstepping its authority.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's, as we've highlighted on the show tons of times, there's no shortage of probably cases for you to take on and people to fight for, because it's kind of endemic that government, in some places, loves to overreach. And I think it's a great thing that Institute for Justice are doing. And then even more, Khalilah, I think like you just trying to pursue your dream. I mean, that's all we'd ever want someone to be able to do. And like to have the government stand in your way is really bothersome. So what are you doing right now? If you can't be in that the space where you're looking for the permits, where do you see clients, and what are you doing right now?
So right now it is actually really difficult because again we are locked into that 2-year lease, so we have to pay rent and utilities on that space. And in the meantime, we are currently renting chairs in another salon in McDonough. To be able to see clients. But of course, that has come with its challenges because of the inconsistency. Of course, like we've lost some clients.
Sure.
Because before we found the location we're at now, we were in a couple of different spaces. All three of us were working at 3 different salons. Until we found the space that we were in. But by the time we found that space, one of our employees was fortunately unable to stay. It was just too inconsistent. She wasn't making the income that she was used to making before, so she had to find employment elsewhere. So it's just been kind of challenging, and also, running your own business inside someone else's business and like readjusting and trying to keep your footprint small, but still trying to grow your business because now you've taken on the responsibility of essentially running 2 locations, with just the income of one. So it's been a challenging transition, I would say.
Yeah. So, have you guys heard from other businesses and business owners that have maybe endured the same kind of situation?
Absolutely. We had a news story run on the local news, and after that story ran, I had a couple of salon owners reach out to me who had gone through a similar process. There was a daycare owner who went through a similar process. And then also someone who was trying to open a theater. a stage play theater. I think she ultimately ended up pulling out once she like fully understood, I guess, my story or how it happened for me. So there were a lot of people who reached out, not only people in Clayton County, but people in other parts of Georgia, like Perry, Georgia.
Well, Jessica, where's the lawsuit stand now? What's the immediate future?
Yeah, so like I said, we've appealed the denial of the injunction to the Georgia Supreme Court, but the underlying case is still going forward. We're moving forward with discovery, so that's just trying to get as many facts from the county as possible. We'll do depositions and then really push toward trial in that Superior Court case. So we kind of have two avenues going right now in terms of the lawsuit, but yeah, like Khalilah said, unfortunately, the wheels of justice turn quite slowly, and she's just trying to stay afloat, which is really tough. She's trying to pursue her American dream, and there's just every obstacle in the way. I've been reached out to by multiple people in Georgia as well who this is happening to. It's not just a one-off case. This is unfortunately more common than people like to believe, and we're really hoping that this lawsuit will make some great precedent and build on really some already great precedent that Georgia has that protects businesses and protects the American dream and protects economic liberty. Like there's great precedent there. There's still obviously room to grow and to tell these local governments that this isn't right and this isn't something they can do.
Yeah, well, I hope you're really successful in the lawsuit, and the injunction. It's just very, it's hard to start a business. I mean, Khalilah, I don't need to tell you this. I mean, it's really hard, and to have it gain some success and then get blocked by the government just seems so un-American. We want local governments to have some, say so over how their communities develop, but to this, just understanding the facts of this, it just seems so ridiculous and arbitrary, to be honest with you. So I wish you the best. I hope you can get in the space and just kind of regain those clients and keep growing. I really appreciate your resolve, because not only are you trying to get your business on track, but you're actually now part of an effort in this lawsuit to try to make precedent for all the people that come behind you and try to do the same thing you do. And I think that's a courageous thing.
Yeah, thank you.
Good luck to you. I appreciate you guys joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much, David. We appreciate you having us on.
Well, folks, if you like this episode and would like to stay connected with the podcast, be sure to like and subscribe to our channel, as well as following us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Always remember, liberty and freedom are easily taken for granted. Don't take it for granted. Go out there and defend freedom and liberty. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thank you for listening to American Potential. You may listen to more stories from Americans working every day to expand freedom and opportunity in their communities by visiting AmericanPotential.com.